just keep saying good morning. I don't know why I do that. I always go, good morning, good morning.
It's your very own intro. I love it. It sets the tone.
Yeah. So good morning to everyone that is on. Thank you for jumping on Monday morning. And that is there's a little link in there that I'll just show you on the screen that you can actually click on that, and that gives us the opportunity to see who's watching and who's making comments. So we would love for you to register your name so that we don't just see Facebook user instead. We're a little bit late because we've been waiting for Nicolette. We don't know where she is, but I think she's heading here soon. So, and we're talking about spiritual traps again because there's so much to it, right, Asha?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and I think it's something that also continues as you continue down the path as well, because I find that for the stage of really personal development or expansion, there's new almost pitfalls. And yeah, so I think it is an ever evolving piece. And whenever we're holding in mind, yes, we're expanding, yes, we're doing all the inner work, what are the inherent traps that just go with this part of the terrain of our own expansion? So I think almost having it as a little reminder, or even just something to bear in mind as we continue down the path of going, okay, well, I'm experiencing this, and typically it will be an emotional response of discomfort or frustration or some kind of unpleasant emotion. That's the first indicator of, I've come into contact with some kind of trap. What is the trap? And then how do I release myself from it, or move through it and actually do that piece of inner work to then expand again. So I think, always being tapped into an emotional response, that will be the cue that, okay, there's been a little something come up.
Yeah, absolutely. The more we expand ourselves, the more we've got the opportunity for those things to trip us over, right? To the subconscious patterning. So I'm just going to let Nicolette in because she's here. Hey, Nicolette, how you going?
I'm so sorry, daylight saving got me.
I thought that might have been
it. How are you this morning, Nick?
I'm really well. How are you both?
Really well.
I was just saying, I'm actually cold. It's been raining and thunderstorm, and there's lots and lots of clouds. There's no blue sky in my area, and because I'm further down from the equator, it's actually like
colder. I'm still not used to seeing you in that new room.
No. I've got to. I got to see if I can get some picture or something. I'll put my lioness back up there and get some stuffing, because I actually started unpacking this room on the weekend, and I just went, you know what? It's Sunday. I've been working full on. I'm just going to do nothing. And I just sort of potted around and I watched a movie. I just didn't do anything. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't have clients on Monday, so I'm going to do some stuff today instead. So
catch me up. What did I miss?
So we're doing spiritual traps again. We're doing part 3. We've got a whole heap of people saying good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
And we've just got, like, we actually say a few people here. Oh, that's thanks, Irene. That's for getting the link, I'm assuming. There's just a few people that are saying hello. And unfortunately, we don't have your names, so we can't say hi to whoever this is. If you can go into the link that I put in the comments, then you can actually register your name and we can see who's watching. But so we're going to talk again about spiritual traps, but next level or what we missed out. And there was a question that over the last one that was really interesting, and I'm going to just read it out so that we all remember it. Recently, questions becoming aware of the darkness on the planet and being told not to focus on the dark in the world, but doing our own shadow work wakes us up to this. When good men do nothing, not enough to just focus on the light with the question mark. So I'd love to hear what you ladies have got to add to that or discuss. What are your thoughts on that actual statement and question, when good men do nothing?
Well, when we had a brief chat about it last week, what was coming through for me was my own value set when it comes to focusing on the dark or focusing on the light is around whatever we put our attention on amplifies. So if we are focusing on the injustice in the world and getting angry about it, we're feeding the problem, in my opinion. So I believe that, and for myself, I like to lead by example in how I want to show up and be as a symbol of the light, and send my energy and focus that way and amplify that in the world, in other people. So that's what comes to me.
Yeah,
I agree, Nicolette. Asha, what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I'm of a very similar belief system in that I think we may have actually prefaced it in one of our chats, and it could have even been Elizabeth, the chat that you and I had together, in that, like Nicolette said, what we focus on we find, and what we focus on grows. And there's a bit of a trap in being allured to the darkness in an attempt to serve or heal or even from that evolutionary perspective of essentially blood and sex cells, and that's because we're designed to pay attention to it. And so what are we paying attention to because we're geared evolutionarily that way? And it not only is it a spiritual trap, it's actually a bit of a mind trap, because when our mind goes to the darkness or what's unjust or seemingly not right within the world, it's actually our mind's way of trying to problem solve it for us and go, well, if I can contend with that level of darkness and somehow like mind map my way through that, then surely anything that happens that is less than that, I'm more likely to survive. So it's actually a trap on the mind level, on the physiological level, because we're physiologically geared to pay attention to it, and then a spiritual level because it gives us a sense of the greatest level of meaning. And resistance creates resistance. So if we're coming to it from that place of judgment, then we're absolutely amplifying the energy that lives there. However, when we look at it from a much broader top-down perspective, the universe is the continuum from the greatest dark to the greatest light, and one cannot exist without the other. So it's actually the release of judgment of all and coming back to a point of neutrality where we can just actually acknowledge that it's all one of the whole. And to the question's point, not only is there every shade of darkness and lightness within the universe, because we are born of it and are intrinsically one with, we only recognize those things because we hold those pieces within ourselves. They're so and then so again, to the point of doing the inner work about the darkness or the shadow self, it's really about releasing judgment. So it comes down from the greatest top-down approach of how do I release judgment in the fact that none of this would be in existence without the equal and opposite. And then how do I release judgment from within? Because again, to Nicolette's point, when you are the embodiment of the light, we become the fullest embodiment of the light when we have released judgment of ourself, of others, ourself within the world, the universe, and ourself within the universe. And that's the biggest level of expansion, to go, okay, how do I release all judgment and find this place of neutrality, and then choose how to spend my attention and focus and enact in a meaningful way to assist others also do their expansion work, if you choose that path for yourself.
Can I just add to that my experience is that when I have released that judgment and have the greatest acceptance of others, so whether it be our family, so people who are closest to us, who are our biggest mirrors, when we accept other people exactly as they are, we create the deepest acceptance of ourselves exactly the way we are, so that divine love is flowing freely. And it's so powerful.
Absolutely. And I just want to add that whole statement of when good men do nothing, right? Because is it doing nothing to be holding the space of light? I don't think so. And this is where it is, isn't it? Someone's just put in here, releasing judgment is so amazing. Releasing. And it's so true, right? But the thing is, we think that there's actually two types of action, and there's masculine action where it's go 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 and push forward, and then there's feminine action of pausing and being present and nurturing and holding space, right? And so by seeing, as Asha was saying, seeing like we are a holographic experience of the whole. So we've been evil to somebody, right? Like I can guarantee we've all been evil to somebody. And so, there's so many different parts of who we are, and it's choosing the parts that we have decided to be, or that we would like to experience ourselves as being. I know people that are up in, dear friends up in Far North Queensland that are horrified with what's going on with COVID, that don't have to even wear a mask. Like nothing's going on in their world, but they're like freaking out because they're holding on to what they're hearing. I had someone ring me up and say, oh my gosh, I hear what's going on down in Sydney, and military police pulling people out and vaccinating them on the road, like people being, pushed down and suppressed and all of these things. And what's going on? I wanted to hear from you. And I'm like, well, in my world, I go outside, I wear a mask, not outside all the time, but like this is when I was in Sydney, in the shops, and a helicopter goes past my house every day. I hear more sirens, but other than that, I still feel free. I still feel sovereign. I still feel elevated. I'm still working. I'm still doing everything. That's my world. And I get that there's people that are having another experience. But we, as Asha was saying, this whole idea of we're hardwired to problem solve. So, we've got this hardwire to, oh my gosh, we've got to work this out. But actually we don't. We need to create. Let's shift our focus and create the world we want to be in and experience it in the now moment, so that we're actually feeling it and raising the vibration of the planet and the people, and then watch everything start shifting.
And it actually comes back to our conversation a couple of weeks ago about being the observer.
Yeah.
In that space of the observer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, when you can really get, like, I heard some interesting news about my son on the weekend that he's made a choice that I wouldn't have wanted for him, but he made that choice and he's done it now, like, so that's his experience. If I could, lose the plot, I could feel upset, I could, go into all of these things, but I choose not to. It's done now. Like, this is his experience. I'm absolutely in, pro-choice for everyone to make their own experience. Pro-choice as in pro-choice in life, not just in this situation. And so, that's what he's chosen to experience. And I just wanted to read this out. I just found this before we started, and I think it's really appropriate. It's a statement from Adyashanti, if I said that correctly. This isn't a journey about becoming something. This is about unbecoming who we are not.
Mm.
And one of the things, like, when you can really get to that place of recognizing that we are souls just having a physical experience, then if you think that someone's made a choice that's going to make them die or whatever, but you hold that, like, I'm only experiencing my son as my son here, as this individual. Like, I know him in his highest state. So why, other than, if anything happened to any of my kids, my physical human being would be detrimentally, like, ripped apart and then come back together.
Mm.
But the rest of me understands that he hasn't gone, or they haven't gone. Like, my dad died when I was 15. I speak to him when I want to, very rarely now, like 50 years now. And, like, what's that? 35 years, isn't it? Yeah, 35 years ago. So it's very rare for me to chat with him. And so, but, I can if I want to. Right.
So it's that understanding that every other human on the planet is having a human experience, and forgiving them for the things that we don't agree with, or accepting them just as they are.
Yeah.
Because they're having a human experience. Like, it is what it is.
Mm. And also, sorry, Asha, but also, how are we to know what the big, like, we are limited at the moment in a physical form. And so how are we to know what the bigger picture is? Like, how dare we? And that's the spiritual trap, right? How dare we think that we are so wise and so all-knowing that we have any concept of what the real big picture is? Like, I would not even dare to even consider that I know that, I actually do know one thing, that the light always prevails.
Yeah.
Always. How long that's going to take, different story, but it always prevails because there's nothing other than the light, right? The light became the darkness to experience itself. So there was contrast.
Yeah, it's such they're such big, powerful concepts. And I think, my experience of the darkness, or where people butt up against the darkness, is really about a sense of grief and loss, you know, because they're either imagining some kind of loss or a perceived loss, or they have experienced real loss through things not going the way that they would have hoped. So I think when we bring in these really big concepts around, you know, what is that unquantifiable part of us that makes us, you know, and from a spiritual perspective, you know, it sits very comfortably, at least for me, to go, I'm a soul, and that soul is eternal. And I think, you know, when people are faced with their own dark tunnel, the light does reveal itself in whatever way, shape, or form. And for me, it's the deepest levels of darkness that actually reveal to you the most. And so I think that's exactly what you're saying here, Elizabeth, in that the light will prevail, because inevitably, if you are presented with darkness, the equal and opposite reaction is an inevitability. It's a universal law that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So when you are presented with that level of darkness, when you stay the course, the equal and opposite level of lightness is inevitable. And then that's when the expansion occurs. And it's just the recognition that as I grow, I will continue to have the pendulum swing from dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. And that is the expansion. And when you surrender to that, you are then one with the nature of the universe. And that's when you surrender and find peace and tranquility. And then the traps of the human mind, having the human experience, suddenly dissipate, because they really pale in significance to our inner wisdom and world. And that's very different to having all the answers, the global answers. It's just simply recognizing that when I exist in that state of tranquility, peace, surrender, and am one with the natural laws, things have a habit of actually working out themselves. And again, to bring in that point of when good men do nothing, there's passivity and active stillness, and they're two very different things. So we're never
ignorance.
We're never handing over our sovereignty. It's just that sovereignty sometimes looks as peaceful as floating down the river, but that's a choice. You actively made that choice to be one with and move in the most easy and graceful way, even when the rapids and torrents hit.
Going easy on ourselves as well, because that pendulum swing happens from the moment that we are born. Eden and I were talking yesterday about that, the first experience of a baby coming into the world is, you know, a baby is leaving the soft, warm, fed, you know, nurturing experience of being inside their mother. And then all of a sudden the world is bright and cold and scary. And, you know, those first moments of taking your first breaths are your first experience of grief and suffering, and that pendulum swinging, you know, that way. And then you get to be fed by your mother, and you get to be held by her, and it swings back the other way. So it starts from there in the human experience.
And can I just mention too that something that I think is really important that needs to be said is all three of us are sitting here saying, you know, like I know I'm being passive, I'm creating, I'm focusing on the light. What's really important to remember is that actually it's about following what you feel you need to do and listening to your intuition. So if you feel like, because we've all got different roles, we're all here intuitively to experience what we chose to come down to experience. So if you came down and your experience is that in this time and space, I'm going to get really angry and frustrated, and my intuition's going to kick in, and I'm going to write letters, and I'm going to protest, and I'm going to, do all the things that I need to create change, then that's your role. Like that's your action. That's what you need to do. And so if you don't do that, that's when good men do nothing, right? If you're not following your intuition, like my intuition doesn't say go and put a pitchfork up or whatever those things.
Yeah.
And
my intuition is.
Did you hear what I said? Pitchfork. What do you call those things?
Like a placard.
Placard, yeah, placard. I know, like I've actually looked at it, and when there was protests in Sydney, is this what I need to do? Am I avoiding something? Am I supposed to be there? Is there fear? I actually went through that process and came to know that's not my place. That's not, and I'm not saying that those people that are doing that shouldn't be doing that, because if that's what, like,
that's what they're driven to do from a place of that's their purpose.
Yeah, because
well,
passivity. If you're supposed to be doing something else and you're being passive, then we are going to be steamrolled, right? Mm. So like if it's my role, there are things that I've done. Petitions I've written down and sent things to the government. I've done things because it felt right for me to. That's what I'm doing. Mm. And so we've all got different roles here on the planet, and this is a time of waking up. This is a time of what I'm seeing definitely is this real, not only like what they're trying to create, and they seem to be doing quite a good job, is the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, the rest of the world and the Jews, like they're really creating this division and this separation. So, and I want everyone to hear that is really what's going on here, is they're trying to create this separation and judgment, right? But actually there's this real, what I'm seeing is this, like, people really, really waking up to who they are, and those that are very, very unconscious. And so not their role to wake up right now. Maybe they're going to wake up later. I don't know. Not for me to know. But there's definitely this real noticeable people just waking up and seeing that, wait a minute, there's more to life than what meets the eye here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that, I was in discussions with someone who, had really quite strong views about whether to be vaccinated or not vaccinated. And this particular individual went overseas and actually, contracted COVID. And he spoke about the experience of having COVID as actually very similar to kind of that to essentially experiencing plant-based medicine where they have those constructs of self, those constructs of self dissipate, and you're left with a deeper level of consciousness or resonance where you have some of these profound experiences. And I couldn't help but, in terms of this kind of global awakening, even the added layer of someone describing actually having COVID as quite a spiritual experience because of everything kind of suspending. I just thought, wow, we never actually really see the big picture until, enough of the pieces of the puzzle have turned over and shown themselves. And I just feel like we're in the really kind of early stages of this story being told. And I think the more that we all kind of go, to that point of, okay, how do I want to exist through this wave and allow for those pieces of the puzzle to be revealed so we can actually start to see the big picture. I think, and again, to Nicolette's point, that takes us right back to being the observer, because if we get hung up on one piece of the puzzle, we're too close. So just that recognition that all the pieces of the puzzle are unfolding, and that will include some people's responses in rallying, to some people's responses in really being researchers in the field, and all those things. So everyone is having their place and their role, which is essentially the global puzzle unfolding, until we can all see, okay, what is this chapter in history actually going to reveal to humanity?
We don't have to know right now.
Exactly.
We don't have to know right now.
And isn't it true that in any situation, in any, like we've sort of started talking about the world at the moment and all that sort of stuff, and because of the question, but in any situation that you find yourself placed in, the most important thing is to listen to your intuition. Tune in. Who are you really? Strip away all the stuff that you aren't. Connect in with your higher self. Be that here now, and let that give you the insights and drop in the information that you require to move forward, and then take action on that. That's the most important in any situation. And it's the same whether it's to do with COVID, whether it's to do with your relationships, whether it's to do with family, whether it's to buy a car, whether it's to whatever it is, it's the same thing, right? Let's become more of who we truly are, and who do you choose to experience yourself as being this time? Did you come down here to be fearful and concerned that the world's falling apart? Or did you come down here to be the observer of, changing, the chaos theory, the changing from one pattern into a new, and we're just the chaos in between, but there's a new pattern being formed, right? So it's exciting regardless. If you can hold space for your spiritual being to be the observer, it's exciting.
I would encourage everyone to give yourself time without media, without Facebook, to be the observer of your own life and your own reality, without those external inputs that we're bombarded with, and actually just go about a nice flow of a day or a week where you're going about your own life.
Absolutely. And look around you. Okay, in my reality right now, I don't have to wear a mask in my house. Like the things that you can see and observe that are in your immediate reality. Yeah. Well, absolutely, Nicolette. So, what are you ladies up to this week? Anything exciting?
This week I've got quite a few healing clients today. I will be painting and preparing for my Paint, Connect and Create event, which is on the 28th of October here in Toowoomba. So if you're in Toowoomba, come and drink wine with me, and we'll do a brief meditation at the start to set the energy, and I'll be teaching that intuitive flow of how I paint in that zone. So that's what I've got going on.
Beautiful. I've got some private clients and a couple of workshops coming up, and I'm also in the final stages of finalizing some graphics as well. So that's always exciting when you've got those creative pieces that help tell your story as well. So I'm just working with a team in getting those up, and hopefully I'll have some things to share and show before too long. So so just all the different kind of balls in the air, and just keeping on.
That's awesome. What have I got on? I've got a meetup, I think, in 10 days' time, if I'm correct. And I did a little sneak peek. I've got exciting stuff coming. I did a little sneak peek on my Facebook story. It might be still up. And in Women of Light yesterday. So just this little tiny sneak peek to show you what's to come. But there's some exciting new stuff happening. So
Brilliant.
looking forward to
it. Elizabeth, can I just say that your energy in that house is so good?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so much, it's I moved down to Sydney 6 years ago to look after family, and I went to my mum's house, and then I moved out after 6 months because it was intense, and I moved to down the bottom of the Blue Mountains, and then I moved in by myself, and then I moved back to mum's house, and in between I spent some time with a girlfriend that you guys know, Sam, up in Central Coast, just have a bit more relief, some time out because it was really intense. So pretty much the whole 6 years I've been in other people's spaces, and also not where I chose myself, but where I was being guided by my intuition, right? My intuition told me to move down to Sydney, and I went, hell effing no. Like, it took actually 6 months before I went, okay, that's where I'm being guided to go. And so this is the first time, and I intuitively go with whatever I need to do. But this is the first time that, I told my clients I'm going to be moving by the end of September, and I pretty much did. Just went with my creative flow. And this is the first time in 6 years that I feel like I'm finally in a space, like I'm back to myself and back in nature. And yesterday, even though it was raining, I went and sat in my garden and just soaked up the flowers, and I just feel really, really at home, which is so nice. So more to come. You'll notice it even more, Nicolette. And I can't wait for everything to start up, because I really want to start doing live person events. I've got so much to share. So yeah, it's very
exciting times.
Yes. Thank you, Nicolette, for noticing. So everyone, lovely to have you on here. We've got 8 people on, which is awesome. Would love for anyone who wants to add anything, any comments in the chat. If you're watching replay, please put #replay. That would be awesome. And 2 people just jumped on, and we're just about to finish. So you'll have to go back and watch the replay. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. I think we'll most probably come up with something else other than spiritual traps for next week. So watch this space, and take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye.